Hey, welcome back to another bonus episode of the Racin with Ryan podcast. This, of course, is an American Auto Race Rewind featuring the 2022 Fall Brawl Sportsman 200 over at the Citrus County Speedway. That's right, our first race rewind outside of the New Smyrna Speedway. Kind of a long one, so I'll invite you to sit back, maybe grab some popcorn, grab a beverage. This is a relatively recent race, but after talking to Tom from Speedway Video, we thought this would be a good one. Since it didn't really have the announcer audio, there's a lot going on with the scoring, confusion in victory lane that I'm going to help clear up, and I think this will be fun to watch back through. I remember some of the key points, and I don't remember everything, so I'll be surprised along with you at some points and be able to kind of take you back and talk about some of the key points. So again, this is a 200-lap race, so buckle in. It's broken into 3 different segments. Speedway Video was nice enough to send me the uncut video. Again, this is a race rewind brought to you by American Auto of the Fall Brawl Sportsman 200 from the Citrus County Speedway back in 2022. So let's go ahead and get into it.
Go to patreon.com.
Yeah, and make sure you go to patreon.com, sign up for Speedway Video to support him.
Time today, it's the Breathe Easy Medical Supply number 00 for Anthony Cataldi.
The last couple cars in the starting lineup here.
Inside and across electric number 56. Let's hear it for Brandon Morris.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, your front row for the Fall Brawl Sportsman 200 on the outside, and car number 14 out of Lakeland is going to be Adam Briggs. And starting on the pole tonight out of Davie, Florida, the number 16 right foot down motorsports machine for Tim Sozio.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a big round of applause for your field of sportsmen here tonight. Are you guys ready for 200 laps of the Fall Brawl? You guys can do better than that. Are you guys ready for some great sportsman racing?
So you got to get the crowd hyped up. You got to get them into it. Got to get them excited. And again, it was a good field of sportsmen as they get counted down here. I believe it was 22 or 23 cars that started. So 3 segments here with this 200-lapper. Each race was its own individual race. It had its own payout, but they did points, kind of milk bowl style. And driver with the lowest amount of points would be your overall champion as we get ready to start segment number 1 or race number 1. Tim Sozio and Adam Briggs on the pole, as they just told you about. Green flag is out. And again, I was lucky enough to be able to go over and announce this race with Austin over at Citrus County. Their normal second announcer, Tony Modica, was under the weather for a couple weeks, and New Smyrna wasn't racing. And I was able to get over there and announce this race and see a good clean start. And what you hope for in an event like this, where there's multiple segments or double features, and in this case 3 features, you want to see a nice clean start, and you want everybody to make it as long as possible. Now, of course, short track racing, 20-plus cars on the track, it's going to be issues, but you hope that the issues are minor or at least, not major enough to where they can't come back for the next segment. The rules in this race, if you fall out in the first race, you can come back in the second race, had to use the same set of tires, so some strategy involved that maybe will come into play later for drivers that don't have a good first or second segment. They might save it for the third segment because, again, each race had its own individual payout, and it paid nicely to win these things. So we may see some stuff. And again, controversial ending here, confusing ending. And the segment scoring works as follows. 1 point per position. So if you have won, you got 1 point. And you add up through the field. And whoever, it's kind of like golf. Whoever the lowest score at the end would be the winner. And, of course, 3 segments, it's not a whole lot of separation, so the possibility of a tie is a legitimate thing. Now, where I come from, when they do this, they do it in the Milk Bowl, 3-segment race, and the tiebreaker is always the highest finisher in the final segment. You want to finish it on the racetrack, and that is what we were under the impression of in our communication with the scorers in the tower. So keep that in mind as we watch here. Early on here in segment number 1, Tim Sozio, 16, still your leader. Brandon Morris, 56. That black car there still in second. And just about a car length behind. Top 3, pretty much under a blanket. Adam Briggs in the 14, running in that 3rd position. Now the field pretty calm to start this. Pretty much single file. Some battles back in the pack. Joe Winchell, 92, working by the Bigley machine. But pretty much single file all the way around. Nobody lapped yet. Yeah, I think we're about 10, maybe 12 laps into this thing. It's been all Tim Sozio up at the front. Brandon Morris, multiple-time Auburndale Speedway champion. Looking for a good run, riding in second. Adam Briggs, New Smyrna champion from a couple of years ago. Oh, that's right. There's two Briggs cars out here. One for Adam Briggs and one for LJ Grimm. And now I'm not sure which one is which. So it's either LJ Grimm in third or Adam Briggs in third. See, this is how I do these race rewinds, man. I don't go back and review every frame before I start doing this. I just let it roll and kind of talk you through the race. So gonna go peek at the final results here and get an idea who is in which car. Yeah, that doesn't help much. There was a 114 and a 14 out there. One for Adam Briggs and, like I said, one for LJ Grimm. The race continues on here. Not much movement up towards the front of the field. Still all Tim Sozio at this point, but that 14 car, trying to look and see if maybe there's a 1 on the side of that. But the 14 car starting to put some pressure, and then fast qualifier. By the way, I think there was an 8-car invert in this, if I remember correctly. The 00 of Anthony Cataldi was the fast qualifier, and he had to start kind of deep in the field. And he starts to make his move up towards the front now, as he's closed in on the top 3 in that 00 car. Now the top 4 as they come out of 4 under a blanket. Tim Sozio leading the race, Brandon Morris in second, and now we're starting to catch the tail end of the field. So Tim Sozio has led all the way, Morris hanging on to second, but creeping into the picture now, the green and black car, is Anthony Cataldi. So he closes in, calm and cool and collected to start this thing, which I'm sure is what they preached to them at the drivers' meeting. Hey, we got basically 3 races to get through tonight, guys. Let's not, wreck the cars in segment 1. Let's give the fans a show all night long. At least that's what I would preach at an event like this. Top 4 still riding nose to tail. Sozio 16's got about a 2-car length lead, maybe car length and a half on Brandon Morris. Battle for third heating up. Anthony Cataldi getting to the inside. I think that's Adam Briggs. I don't see a 1 on the side of that machine. So it looks like Briggs is hanging on to third right now. So that means LJ Grimm a little bit further back. I'm going to assume at this point. It'll become more clear as we go on. Of course, if you attended this race, you know what I'm alluding to. If you read about this race, you also know what I'm alluding to. Adam Briggs now lapping by the first car. First car to go a lap down, the 07 machine there. That 07, I think that was 67, James DeBose. Yes, that was James DeBose there in the 67. And now battle for the lead heating up to the inside. Brandon Morris going to look inside of Tim Sozio. Brandon Morris heating up those rotors going into turn 3 on the inside. And now the top 4, you can cloak them now. Blanket under the top 4. Working to the inside, Brandon Morris getting up into Sozio. They might have touched a little bit there. Good racing at the front. This is why the Sportsman class is so much fun to watch. I don't care if it's Wheelman. I don't care if it's weekly competition at your local track. I don't care if it's the Outlaws over at Pensacola. Same idea over there. And now here comes Anthony Cataldi in the 00. Cataldi right in the mix. The battle's on for second. Cataldi thought about 3 wide. Now the battle for second as Sozio slips back here on the outside. Brandon Morris is the leader. Adam Briggs, Tim Sozio, side by side. Cataldi, the fast qualifier. He is trying to close in now. Cataldi working to the inside of early race leader Tim Sozio. Cataldi in the 00. If you're watching along, 16 Tim Sozio. If you're listening along, great racing. And now they get single file. Brandon Morris leader. He's closing in on Timmy Todd Jr., one of the regulars over at the New Smyrna Speedway, who's about to drop off the pace. It was good to see it's good to see Timmy come out and run this event. He didn't run much this season. A couple races at New Smyrna. and decided to put the different gear in and go short track racing here at Citrus. And he's about to fall a lap down to the Brandon Morris automobile. And Joe Winchell's car off the pace now. The 92 slow on the high side of the racetrack. He's going to make his way off. That tight exit of the racetrack off the top of turn 2 at Citrus. We've seen some wild things happen over there. So to reset it for you, as we're a good chunk of laps in here, your leader, the 56 Brandon Morris. Adam Briggs, I believe, is in that red machine in second. Again, 2 twin cars out there. Makes these reviews kind of hard to watch sometimes. And then sitting in third, fast qualifier, Anthony Cataldi. Early race leader, Tim Sozio. Fourth, Matthew Green, another new Smyrna guy, up in the 5th spot. And then Devin McLeod in the white 23. And Devin McLeod would become a player in this event. He's starting to work his way forward. He's looking to the inside now on Matt Green. Green in the 44 going to give up the position. Now try to cut low. He tried the old quarter midget crossover move coming off 4. Couldn't pull it off there. The front 3, though, breaking away from everybody else. Lapping by one of the back markers there. Top 3's pretty close together so at this point. Brandon Morris with a car length advantage on that Briggs number 14. And then looking to the inside now, Cataldi in third. So the battle's on for second here. As we get a look at a lot of the cars all around the Speedway. It's what we like to call the conveyor belt of race cars at this point. Brandon Morris underneath the big lead 28 car. I think they had a different driver in that car, but it is a big lead car. Morris still leading. Briggs and Cataldi still the top 3. Looking back at the race results for the 28 car, Sean LeMaster was actually in that 28 car for the Biglies. Devin McLeod has secured that top 5 position. So there, now we get a good look at it. The 114 back there, that is LJ Grimm. So Adam Briggs can confirm has been in second place for much of the contest here in that other number 14. The Travis Rowland guys bringing out 2 cars with the Briggs paint schemes on there. Watching Daniel Webster now in the beautiful yellow and blue number 1 machine. Battle a little bit further in the pack. He's side by side trying to work through some of the lap cars and trying to hold off the 69 of Rex Struble. A little bit further. I believe that's just inside the top 10 there. Now remember, these drivers fighting for an overall championship. So every position in every race not only matters for that particular race, but for the overall as well. And we got a battle for second. Here comes Cataldi. Cataldi now going to look inside of Briggs for second spot. Brandon Morris still up ahead about 2 car lengths as these guys battle. Cataldi down on the inside, Briggs on the outside. Oh, and we got a spin right in front of the leaders. Somebody just went around. That is the pink and blue number 21 machine of Eric Sharon. Eric Sharon has gone around to bring out the event's first yellow flag. Eric Sharon, a competitor of many things at Citrus County, has, of course, this sportsman here. We know him a lot as a Crown Vic competitor. I think it's just because the Crown Vics compete there so often. That's typically where you hear that name, but he's very good in those Crown Vics. He was able to spin it out and not hit anything. So we're going back green now. Your leader, Brandon Morris, with the 14 Adam Briggs on his outside. Great look and feel of cars. You know, when you can put 20-plus sportsmen on a track at any time, man, it is a sight to behold. It's a good, clean restart. Briggs up on the outside, actually going to lead that lap. So Briggs going to become our 3rd different leader here. It's Briggs and Morris still battle side by side. Morris down on the bottom. Briggs sends it in there, trying to clear Morris. Morris going to fight back on the inside. And to me, this is part of what makes Citrus County so great to watch. You can get that outside groove to work. There's a little bit of a second groove here as compared. Oh, and there we go. Contact. Morris gets into Adam Briggs, and he turns around in front of the field. So a major moment here, and somehow, some way, at the front of the field, the leaders get together just as the 8 of James Seawright is at the outside wall. The leaders get together. So thinking back to this, I remember the caution was out for Seawright on the back straightaway, who nosed it hard into the outside wall. I believe he was the first casualty of this event. And then the leaders got together. Adam Briggs with some heavy damage. You see the official chucking some parts and pieces out. So the leaders get their spot back. They were not the cause of the caution. It was for Seawright. And if you're watching the video back, you'll see that quick shot of the 8 car in trouble. Back underway now after that wild moment. And thankfully, the field behind them able to get woed up. So no major damage up front. Just a wild moment. So side by side, I guess the big change now is Brandon Morris. He had, I guess he did get some damage. So check that. Brandon Morris now out of the picture. And it is Anthony Cataldi rocketing to the lead on the back straightaway. So Cataldi, the fast qualifier, making his way up, establishing his dominance, or at least asserting himself as one of the cars to beat today. So tough break for Brandon Morris in that spin. He either got damage or was called to the back or something. I'm trying to rack my brain here, but I believe it was damage, and he tried to make his way back up through the field. And I know Austin talks to him after this first segment. I don't know if we'll get it on video here or not, but he was very dejected with what went down. So back up front, it is now Anthony Cataldi with the lead. Adam Briggs second, Tim Sozio third, inside the 23 of Devin McLeod. So side-by-side battle for third. McLeod and Sozio. Sozio's going to get that spot. McLeod in the white 23 going to fall in line. And Matthew Green holding on to the top 5. LJ Grimm in the 114. He's been hanging around about 6th spot all race long. Has not really been able to move up. Looking a little bit further back, we saw a glimpse of the 07 Tyler Schofield, who was my pre-race pick to win, even though it didn't qualify well. I don't always use qualifying as an indicator of, who's going to be dominant. You might be good for a lap or two. Some drivers set their cars up for the long run. I just know the Schofields always have good equipment. It's orange, so a little bias there. I picked Schofield, and man, he had a tough day. Spoiler alert. Cataldi's still up front, starting to pull away now. He's got the biggest lead anybody's had all day. It is 5 or 6 car lengths at this point. Briggs still trying to hold off Tim Sozio, who has run so much better. Sozio, one of the most improved sportsman drivers over the last couple of years. Ever since he's got with the right foot down, he has been pretty strong. A couple of wins over at New Smyrna in limited appearances. Many, many good runs on the Wheelman Series and other big sportsman events such as this. Now, this was not a Wheelman Sportsman race, but many of these cars run the Wheelman Series, which I'm very much looking forward to as the rebranded SRL Sportsman Series in 2023. Their first sportsman race will be at the Freedom Factory on January 7th, by the way. Little plug there. Ricky Brooks, of course, pulling the strings there, making things happen with Cletus McFarland over at the Freedom Factory, which, Cletus bought that Speedway and has been doing his own thing over there and going to do some stock car racing at the old grounds of DeSoto Speedway, now known as the Freedom Factory, on January 7th. And you'll see many of these cars we're talking about in competition over there. Going to be a heck of a show. If you can't make it, caution is out here, by the way. And we'll see if we can pick up why. Oh, Eric Sharon is around again in the 21 on the front stretch. So that's number 2 for Sharon. Event's third yellow. And this is number 2 for the 21 of Eric Sharon. So again, you can watch this upcoming sportsman race on the 7th on pay-per-view. There are a few other options for live racing. So if you want to go watch some live racing, maybe at New Smyrna or at the Citrus County Speedway, they're having an event. You can then watch the sportsman race back on pay-per-view. So here we go, back in the green. I'm just trying to give you multiple ways to support short track racing at the start of 2023. So back underway, Anthony Cataldi still the leader in the 00. Battles on for second. Tim Sozio running very well today. Started up front, led, fell back, now up into the second spot as he battles with Adam Briggs. And here comes that other car that's painted very similarly, the 114, which is LJ Grimm. He's breaking into the top 5 now underneath. Now he's gotten by the Matt Green machine. And now he battles, I can't make out what number it is on that black machine. But now up into the top 5, the team car to Adam Briggs, LJ Grimm. I want to say at some point in this race, Adam Briggs is going to have some trouble here that sets his night off and actually makes Adam Briggs' appearance in later events very important. Big battle here, big gaggle of cars coming off turn number 2 on the back straightaway. 5, 6, 7 cars battling for position deep in the field. Daniel Webster, Rex Struble, Tyler Schofield, Steve Gill among those cars. Stuck in the back half of the field. Cody Brusso's back there in the 7. Brandon Morris. There's Brandon Morris again. He was up front leading and has since been in the back with nowhere to go. I believe I saw the Chris Huntoon number 30 machine back there as well. Struble and the 07 of Tyler Schofield now battling. As we look back through the front part of the field, it is single file with Anthony Cataldi. Now, these drivers, for the most part, doing a good job. Just the one car into the outside wall for James Seawright. These guys doing a good job keeping things clean for the time being. Some good racing, some contact, some wrinkled fenders, as you typically see in a sportsman race. Those, left rear fenders are pretty delicate. These cars have open, I guess we'll call them open back bumpers, no body panels on the back. So those fenders on the back just held together with some minor bracing and are easily wrinkled up with the contact and the type of racing that you see on these bull rings. And you're going to see a lot of used up race cars. I mean, this is 3 races in one, remember, at the tiny short track here at the Citrus County Speedway. Now, we were talking, as some of the action happened earlier, that Citrus does have a second groove that is usable and makes the restarts a little bit less treacherous, I guess, because you can run up there and kind of hold your own, whereas some of the other bull rings, you've got to make the outside groove work and then get to the inside groove, the preferred line, it seems. But like I said, you can hold your own, you can ride up in that upper groove and not just get freight trained. So it is still Anthony Cataldi, the fast qualifier, up at the front of the field. Field is pretty much single file strung out here in this first event. I believe this first race, it's a 200 lap total event. I believe this first one is 75, the second one is 75, and the third one, I believe, is just 50 laps. Cataldi still leading, and LJ Grimm. No, that's the, man, that's going to confuse me all day. That is the Briggs machine getting by a machine, one of the lap cars. Everybody holding their own, no real movement at the front of the field. Cataldi, your leader. Sozio second. Briggs still hanging on to third. And my estimate is somewhere near the halfway point here in race number 1. Again, if you're listening to this, it's going to be a long one, so buckle in. This is the full 200 lap event. Now, I could have done what some podcasts do and break this up and give it to you over 3 weeks, but you know what? I'm all for giving you what you want, and that is everything together. I believe the white flag is out, so we're way past the halfway point. Final lap here, and checkered flag ready to fly. In segment 1, race 1, we'll go to Anthony Cataldi, Tim Sozio second, and Adam Briggs will take the third position. So those will be your low point drivers going into race number 2. So 1 point for Cataldi, 2 points for Sozio, 3 points for Briggs, and so on.
75 laps in the books.
So yes, 75 laps. There's the confirmation. Thanks to that PA guy who sounds familiar. And now we'll hear from Austin.
Off to a pretty solid start, fast qualifier, and then you just pick up $3,000 more here to win stage 1.
Yeah, started fourth there, and we had a pretty good shot today at the front, and I think it's pretty sporty, so I just kind of bided my time there, and then the 2 leaders just kind of got together, so capitalized on that, and then was able to just get him on the restart on the outside, flip around, and this thing's a hot rod.
Got a long way still to go. We're going to have a pill draw to determine where you start race number 2, so we don't know where you're going to start just yet, but odds are it's not going to be where you're at right now.
No, I would say not, but I mean, that's part of this deal, that we knew that getting in there was going to be an invert, so we're just going to take the invert for what it is and just take care of our car and get there at the end.
All right, Anthony Cataldi, leading the way right now. He wins stage 1.
Tim Sozio looking pretty strong at the beginning of this thing. Led some laps and ready to fight back to second. So we got 2 more races coming up. What's the outlook for the rest of the night?
Yeah, we're going to try and tighten this thing up a little bit. I actually just couldn't get in the throttle at all, but let's see what happens. Going to try and just be there at the end.
Looks like it's getting kind of slick out there, especially when the tires start to heat up. And you got to use the same tires for the rest of the race. Are you going to move them around, or do you like where they're at?
I think we're going to do something. I don't know yet, but yeah, it's definitely slick out there. We, got to watch getting on the throttle.
What's it going to take? I know the 00 is fast right now. What's it going to take to get by him in the next race?
I don't know. He's fast, so we'll see.
All right, Tim Sozio brings home second in segment number 1. He'll go to work and get ready for the next race.
75 laps, man, are pretty exhausting, but got a pretty sporty car. Your car looked pretty good on the outside of those restarts, but the 00, man, he's pretty quick.
Yeah, this is the first time this car's been a long run like this. We were in Alberta 2 weeks ago, doing 2 laps, so we really know what to do in a long run. So we're going to work on it here and see what we got.
So, leading the race and then under caution, some contact there with the 56. Didn't get to see it, but what happened there from your point of view?
Not sure. Really don't know.
All right, so we'll see what Adam Briggs has for stage number 2. He finishes 3rd here in his first stage.
Devin, you got the crew hard at work here, trying to get this thing tightened up for the next segment. But man, you made a lot of passes out there. You started kind of mid-pack, were able to race your way up to 4th. What's it been like out there?
Man, I wish it was 200 laps straight. I think the longer we ran, the better we got. So, really, I think during that short run, we weren't as good as, I think, at least the 00, maybe the 16, I don't know. But I think the cars can be to us as these tires get worn out. I think I got to bring the right rear. I'm going to put on the next 50, but drive by at the end.
Well, we'll see how that's going to go. Devin McLeod with a solid run. Keep your eye on the 23 car. He's still in the running for the overall. And we tried to get what happened from Adam Briggs. I think Austin's going to go find Brandon Morris to see if we can find out more about the contact that happened after the yellow flag. Crew's still hard at work down here getting these cars ready.
Down here with Brandon Morris in the 56. Up front, earlier on in this thing, caution comes out for something in the back of the field. Next thing I know, you're all crossed up.
We were still up at racing. We didn't even know the caution was out yet, but it's hard racing, a little bit of contact. Yes, it's not unnecessary on probably both of our parts, but it is what it is. Start running together on the tire, so it's kind of about 185 laps right now, so I think it is what it is.
All right, there you go, Brandon Morris. Definitely disappointed, and rightfully so. Definitely had a fast car today. Looks like his day is going to be done.
All right, we just got our lineup for race number 2. It's an 8-car invert. So Anthony Cataldi will have to come from 8 on the grid. Matthew Green is going to lead us to the green. Stage 2. 3, 2, 1, start your engine.
So we start them back up here for segment number 2. And again, 8-car invert for segment number 2. So maybe it was 6 cars for segment 1, or maybe it was 8. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. Anthony Cataldi came through and won anyway. You heard from Adam Briggs and Brandon Morris briefly there, and you could tell neither one really wanted to talk about it. They weren't happy about what transpired. But here we go, segment number 2. And on the front row, Matthew Green leading us. And to his outside is Daniel Webster, who's going to take the lead in that 1 car on the outside. So some new players here at the front. So Adam Briggs in the 14 making his way up. One of the players from the first race. Briggs around the outside looking for 3rd. A little bit of bumper tag further back. Sozio trying to dig his way out of the invert hole. He had to start back in 7th. And where is Anthony Cataldi? He is not in the picture right now. Cataldi struggling here early on. Had to start 8th up on the outside groove. Got kind of shuffled backwards, and he's back around 10th or 11th spot as they run right now. And everybody's going around him. So the 00 Anthony Cataldi, whatever adjustments they made in that segment, which you could make adjustments, couldn't change tires. You could move them around, but you could not change tires. Whatever adjustments they made on the Cataldi machine did not pay off as he is going backwards. Brandon Morris is going after him now. Tom from Speedway Video doing a great job following along with the Cataldi storyline, because he could even tell that the car that just won the race is now struggling here. Chris Huntoon to his inside. So Cataldi now winner of segment 1, started 8th, dropping like a rock. So big storyline playing out here as far as the overall goes. Now, Cataldi pocketed a nice, cool $3,000 for winning race number 1. That's pretty good money there for a sportsman race, 75 laps. This segment here, I believe, 75 laps as well, and then the final one is 50. That would pay its own payout and then decide the overall champion, which, of course, we talked about at the top of the show, very interesting / controversial finish, whichever way you want to look at it. A couple of the contenders, Tim Sozio, Devin McLeod, battling a little contact here. Adam Briggs gets into it with, I believe, Brusso. And that is Adam Briggs in the 14 going to pit road. So Briggs, 3rd place in race 1, getting bumped around on the front straightaway, and he goes to pit road. So that'll take him out of overall contention. Maybe 10 laps into this second race, one of the contenders to pit road. No caution. Still green, so the laps are clicking away, and Briggs is going laps down. Now, I mean, he could return to the race if he chooses to. I'll go ahead and tell you he doesn't. He does the smart thing. He saves those tires because he knows it's a complete reset. If you're able to get back to race 3, you're on the same lap as everybody. You're just going to miss out on the overall. You're not going to be in contention. I mean, unless, everybody else has problems too. But you save your tires, and in theory, you've got fresher tires than everybody that completes the 75 laps. So while you won't win the overall, you turn your attention to winning the next race and just getting what you can. So up front, it is still Daniel Webster in the 1, Matt Green, and creeping into the picture, the team card, Adam Briggs, the 114. LJ Graham, we didn't talk much about him in segment number 1. We mentioned him, and we tried to do the process of figuring out who was in which car. Because upon review, at the track, we knew which one was which, walking through the pits and everything with our lineups. But watching back, they both look the same, okay? But we got it figured out. Daniel Webster still leading here in segment number 2. Matt Green riding in the 2nd position. Now things beginning to calm down. We had that dust up. Adam Briggs, Cody Brusso. I believe the Rex Struble machine was also involved in that. Cars bouncing around on the front straightaway, ping-ponging off one another. But again, didn't bring out a caution. Ending Adam Briggs' day here in segment number 2. He would come back for segment number 3, and he will very much be in the mix. Best battle on the track between the 114 of LJ Grimm, the 23 Devin McLeod, and that will be important. Here is a look back now at the Cataldi machine. He is still battling with the 30 of Chris Huntoon. Cataldi, the winner, dominant performer in race number 1, fast qualifier, struggling here. So again, if you happen to be fast forwarding through certain parts and missed anything, the 00 car won segment 1, and they made adjustments during the intermission, if you will, between stage 1 and stage 2, and the adjustments they made went the wrong way. They could move the tires around, they could adjust wedge, basically do whatever you can under a normal pit stop, except change tires. Move the tires around, you can rotate them, but you cannot change tires. You must run all 100 or 200 laps on the same set of tires, unless a flat is approved, change of a flat tire is approved by Speedway official. And that is the typical norm in an event like this, try to keep costs down. Some drivers, if they could, man, they don't care about the money. They're just trying to win everything. They will spend, the guys that can, and I mean this with all due respect, the guys that can do it will, if they're allowed to, buy 3 sets of tires to change tires for every race. There are people that are that serious about wins in this sport that have the means to do so. I mean, it's just like NASCAR. You have a caution come out, you pit 5 laps later. There are some that could do that and would do that, and there are some that could not and would not be able to do that. And sort of level the playing field a little bit. You try to keep them on the same tires. Try to encourage these guys to come out. You want to see your Timmy Todds come over from other track. You want to see your Eric Chirones, your Keith Zavarels out here. And one of the ways to keep them coming is to, in essence, do your best to keep costs down. And that's been one of the things that I've preached a lot in some of my shows is, it's easy to say, well, increase payout, pay us more. But I think that if you could find ways to make it cheaper to race, period, then you get more of a margin between what you make and what you spend, or at least you can cap off some of what you lose and encourage more people to come out and race. That's been my whole point. And some people take that the right way, and some people get upset about it. But all I'm trying to do is encourage people to come race or challenge you to think differently. But anyways, Brooke Storer having some problems. She's had a rough day. She just pulled off up front during my diatribe there. Not much has changed. Daniel Webster still leading, but here comes Matthew Green. So the battle for the lead heating up here in segment number 2 as they lap by Timmy Todd's number 25. Webster still leading. Another car we haven't talked about much. We've mentioned the Bigley name, but Dylan Bigley having a good run in the 25 car. As I say that, the other Bigley car pulls off the 28, Sean LeMaster. So Dylan Bigley in the 25, Sean LeMaster in the 28, the Bigley cars today. Dylan kind of under the radar, into the top 3, I believe, right now. Here's Cataldi and Morris towards the back of the field. Man, how crazy that is to see two drivers that were up front or contending in stage 1, struggling here in stage 2. And, you could tell when Austin was talking to him there in the break between segments that he was none too happy. And him kind of saying that the drivers didn't really know the caution was out and that blame should be put on both of them, I think was a very good way to put it. But, that's part of racing. When you're up at the front, you've got 20 other cars behind you. Man, you got to be on it at all times. You can't back off until you know it's time to back off. So I think it's just one of those racing deals that potentially ruined a couple of good cars' nights. All in stage 1. A very clean stage number 2, and so far, remember what was kind of going through my head at this point. It's like, well, we've had a couple cars pull off. We've had one crash out. We've had some of the contenders get some damage. We've seen Adam Briggs fall by the wayside here in race number 2. But all in all, it's been what you want to see in an event like this. It doesn't matter, man. If it's a 25-lap weekly show, a 200-lap straight-up race, a 100-lap race, there's going to be attrition. People are going to fall out. People are going to crash out. Tires are going to blow. You're going to hit the wall. So that kind of thing is expected. But it has not been a wreck fest. We have not piled up a bunch of cars and we're down to 10 cars for the last 100 laps or whatever. So in my mind at this point, I think everybody's happy, regardless of what's going to transpire the rest of the day. Oh, a little contact here between Sozio and Steve Gill in the front, the right front fender of Steve Gill's number 5, flying up into the air. A couple cars running it over, and that'll bring out the caution flag. Gill and Sozio get together in the front, I believe it's the right front of Steve Gill's beautiful number 5 machine, flapping in the breeze, flying off, and bringing out a debris yellow. One of the officials is going to run out and retrieve that and go find the rest of the parts and pieces that might be scattered because it got hit a couple of times. And that old fender flare will make it back to the 5 pit to be put back on. So here comes the guy in the sweeper truck. It's like, hey, I'll take that back to the pit area for you. It's funny when you look at those parts and pieces on the race car, they don't look that big, and then you see them next to a human, and they're pretty substantial pieces of, I guess, fiberglass in this particular instance. Green flag ready to come back out. Daniel Webster in the 1-car leader, Matt Green in second, Dylan Bigley third, and then LJ Graham running out the top 4. There's still a good field of sportsmen out there. Looks like roughly 18 to 19 racers still on track at this point. I think it was 23, 24 cars that took time in qualifying, so a stout field. It's just the right number. You get 30 plus and you got to start sending people home, or you get too many and you just have a wreck fest. 24 is right in the sweet spot at a track like this. So now look, Anthony Cataldi starting to make his way up as Brooks Storer gets the bumper. Anthony Cataldi quietly into the top, we'll go top 10, 9th or 10th back there in a quick count. Daniel Webster still leading here. Matt Green under fire. Here comes LJ Grimm. Grimm starting to get into it now. Again, driving the second team car to Adam Briggs. So I feel like the first segment, LJ feeling it out a little bit. Of course, there was practice to get used to it, but in race conditions, LJ slowly but surely working his way up now inside of Matthew Green. He's got McLeod in tow. Matthew Green is kicked to the outside. The 44 car starting to slip backwards now. But away with the lead, Daniel Webster looking stout in car number 1, not even in the picture right now. There he is, way, way out in front. One of the biggest leads we've seen all race long. That first segment, 3 or 4 guys nose to tail much of the event until late when Cataldi got clean air. And now with Webster in clean air, he's looking pretty stout. Steve Gill, minus the right front fender flare, is racing his way up to about the 6th position. Behind him, here comes Anthony Cataldi. So they went the wrong direction at the start of the race, slowly and methodically picking his way up to the inside of Sozio. Sozio, of course, second in race 1, one of the high point drivers. Adam Briggs, third in race 1. He's out of it. So at this point, you're thinking Cataldi because he's back into the mix. Cataldi, Sozio, you're starting to think about LJ Grimm as a potential overall champion. And that white 23 hasn't shown a whole lot of muscle, but I believe 4th in race 1 and now 4th here in race 2. So those are your players right now for the overall. Of course, all that is going to change, but I love races like this where, every lap, every pass matters. Right now, everything pretty much single file. It was Cataldi, the winner of race 1, Sozio 2nd, Briggs 3rd, Devin McLeod 4th, LJ Grimm 5th. So those are your high, or if you will, low point drivers going into feature number 2 here. And they did the lowest overall combined score as the champion. But we will find out here soon enough that would become more complicated than it seems. So this is what you call logging laps right now. Everybody pretty much single file. It's quote unquote not go time yet. Everybody riding out. Some drivers are out here thinking about the overall points. Some don't give a crap about that. Some are just thinking about each individual race and trying to do the best they can and just go try to win each individual race. Let the points fall where they may. Your top 5 finishers in race 1 minus Adam Briggs at this point thinking, well, I got to think about the points. I'd like to win every race or at least place well enough to get that overall bonus money. I think it was $3,000 to win each race plus $1,000 to win the overall. So some drivers probably have the mentality, I don't care about the overall. I just want to win races if I can. Battle heating up for position now. Here comes McLeod. McLeod inside of Green. They touch, and the left front fender of Matt Green gets ripped off here. So Green with some damage, and now he's starting to struggle. That left front fender flapping in the breeze. He's got Steve Gill to his inside. Gill goes up the track. Here comes Cataldi back into it. 3 wide now. Anthony Cataldi was outside the top 15 earlier, and now racing his way past the wounded machines of Matt Green and Steve Gill. Gill trying to fight back now in the 5. Side-by-side battle for that position right around the 5th or 6th spot at this point. I believe that's for 5th, and around goes Gill. Gill going to go around. The 07, Tyler Schofield goes around. Everybody checks up, but Gill and Green get into it, and that will draw a yellow flag. So now the 1 of Webster will have to deal with this 114 of LJ Grimm, Devin McLeod 3rd, Bigley 4th, and Anthony Cataldi, your winner of segment 1, has worked his way back into the top 5 as the drivers involved in the wreck begin to pull away. And this is about the point in the race, give or take past the halfway point of the overall 200 laps. Everybody trying to position themselves for that last segment, trying to get max points to stay in the championship hunt. who's going to take home the title belt in the fall brawl. It's turning into a brawl at this point. A lot of cars with wrinkled fenders. Damage on the left rear of the McLeod machine in third. Damage on Matt Green. Trouble in the back. It's Henley, Jesse Henley, Rex Struble, and another involved. That may be the 9 of Brookstore. Hard to tell. That is the Brusso machine. Cody Brusso involved as she rolls down the speedway. Rex Struble, Cody Brusso, and Henley all get together there. Daniel Webster still leading as we look to restart. 114 LJ Grimm, Devin McLeod in third, and a quiet but solid night for Dylan Bigley in fourth. Green is out. So back underway here, watching Matt Green side by side with Brandon Morris, who continues on, but he has not made any noise here in this second segment. Side by side, top 4 under a blanket. The 1 car of Webster leading. The 114 on the outside, trying to challenge for the lead, LJ Grimm. So Anthony Cataldi still into the 5th position. A 1 and right now a 5 will give him 6 overall points. He's one of the top drivers there. Grimm was 5th in race 1. He's 2nd right now. That's 7 points. And Cataldi gets knocked out of line a little bit here. Schofield trying to get in the mix. Schofield showing some muscle for the first time today. Schofield maybe was the one that got into the 0-0 there on the front straightaway. Steve Gill still in the mix, even though he's been bopped around a little bit. So Cataldi slipping back in the clutches of Gill, Schofield, and Sozio, who's been stuck around the 8th position much of this race. Sozio 2nd in race 1. Not much noise here in race number 2. So we're getting some different players here in race 2 that are going to make this championship fight as they run right now. Very interesting. And this is why I love this kind of format, man. The points matter. Every position matters. It's not just another race. I mean, over the long haul of the season, it's the same idea. But in this short succession, you got to think about every position, every point. You want to take home that championship. You know, people are going to remember the overall winner more so than who won segment 2, even though it's its own race. It pays well, this and that. I don't remember who wins this segment. I remember who wins the overall. And, of course, it was controversial, so everybody's going to have that stick out a little bit. Here's some 3-wide body slamming action going on. Matt Green, Chris Huntoon. Huntoon's car looked like it's been through a season. Strubel's car with parts flapping the breeze. Chris Huntoon now getting into Matt Green, ripping off his own left front fender. Sparks on the Huntoon machine. He is none too happy with Matt Green. So these sportsmen racing hard. They're going to look probably this way at the end of 75 laps on January the 7th at the Freedom Factory. Sportsmen at the Bull Rings. Very exciting. I mean, even the Sportsman Weekly stuff at New Smyrna last year, pretty exciting. Lots of great moments there. This Sportsman class, it's getting expensive. It's basically a limited late model at this point with the Outlaw body on it. But they're a great class. And Florida has done, you know, they've lucked into kind of these and the Outlaws, those classes that you can look around to any track and you just want to go see them race. You know, a lot of tracks don't really race them too often weekly anymore. They're getting to be that big race touring only status. I think this class has a position at the top of any weekly racing schedule. Back up front, though, you have the 1 still leading, Daniel Webster. Here's that 114. If you're watching along with Speedway Video, remember that is the LJ Grimm car who is haunting the back bumper of the 1 of Daniel Webster at this point. Laps winding down here in stage 2, and again, I don't have a lap counter on the screen, so we'll just watch for the white flag. We'll know the race is almost over, but we're good ways into it here at this point. Coming down on the final stretch. Webster the leader, but he's got company. Graham looking to the inside. Here we go. Battle's on for the lead. LJ Graham on the inside. You've got the 1 of Webster on the outside. Close quarters action for the lead. $3,000 on the line here in race 2. Man, fans getting into it. You can see them waving their hands if you're watching along on the video. This is what you've come to see. Great side-by-side short track action. And with the lead, it is LJ Graham. But crossover. Look at Daniel Webster. Now that, folks, man, whether you're watching or listening, power move by Webster, but he gets sideways off of 2, and Graham's going to power around the outside. Man, Daniel Webster almost pulled off the perfect crossover move. He got loose off of 2, and Graham going to try to drive away now. While all that's going on, McLeod runs in 3rd. Bigley still holding on to 4th, man. It's a quiet ride for Bigley. And that will be Checkers. Checkers route. An exciting battle right at the end of that thing. I knew the laps were winding down. Checkers come out, and LJ Graham wins it over Daniel Webster and Devin McLeod. So going into the final segment, you still got Cataldi in the mix. You got McLeod in the mix. You've got Grimm in the mix. And man, that was fantastic. One of the most exciting sportsman finishes you'll see. And now we'll listen in to the trackside interviews. Now some of the drivers actually being shown debriefing. Here we go.
A great battle between you and Daniel Webster. Long run to finish the stage. You ran him down. Looked like he was getting a little tight there towards the end. Your car was cutting through the center pretty good.
Yeah, I thought he had me covered there at the beginning, and then we had that one long run, and hopefully Daniel was backing up, or I was getting faster, I don't know. Daniel's a good race car driver, and that's probably the most fun I had in a race car all year. Got to thank Travis Rowland and the Briggs family, Maverick Portable Rescue, the BG Southern Sprint Car Series helped me, Rick Holland, the Tractor Service, B&W Supply, just all the fans are coming out, the people that put on the race, Ronnie Vasello here, the track, my parents are here. Hopefully that was a good show. We'll see what we got for the last 50.
So we're on 150 laps. I'm sure it's a little longer than what you're used to, but 50 more to go. How are you feeling?
Great.
All right, there you go. LJ Grimm wins stage number 2. Man, I thought you were going to have that one there, and it looked like the car started to get tight on you there towards the end of that run.
It would get wicked free. I just started on the front row. I started, my air pressure was high, and it was amazing for about 5 laps, and then it was a basket case after that. So I tried to get up front and save, and it got so on top of the track, like it would roll down in there right dead center, unload and turn sideways, and I'd have to ease it up off the corner. So I was trying to baby it the best I could. And I did almost pull off a sweet crossover, but when I got back in, it just went.
Looked like coming to the white, you sent it off in there, and car got a little upset on you.
It would have done that anytime I tried. I was trying not to spin up it, like after, like, 5 laps, it was badass, and then it was just super free, so. But hey, this is my first time racing this car here, first time here in a sportsman in a long time, so. Having fun. Thanks for everyone for coming out tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed that part at least.
So we got 50 more laps. You're still mathematically in the hunt. And remember last time we were in one of these races, you miscalculated, so don't do that.
No save.
All right, so Daniel Webster.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in that last segment. I think Devin came home in 3rd. I'll sneak back in there. He's debriefing with the crew chief here.
I'm going to try to talk to Devin McLeod here. Try to not get away. Talking to Robert Todd here.
If I'm trying to remember, a lot was going on in that last segment, but I think you came home 3rd in that one. You are mathematically in the hunt for the overall tonight. I know you want to win this last 50-lapper, pay some good money to do so. What do you need for 50 laps now after you've done 275 laps?
It's kind of a guessing game, you know. I mean, I'm sure everybody's trying to swap the right side tires, put a better tire at the right rear, swap right front to right rear. That's what we did, so I think it's going to tighten it up some. I think right now it's just all about using what you got left. I mean, I know anybody who's in the contention for this thing, they don't have much left. I'd like to think I have a little bit. I was really trying to baby it. Hell, it was like my dirt car on a slick track, you know what I mean? It was just really feathering the problem. So we got a brand new right rear we're going to put on right now, and hopefully it makes a difference.
Well, now we got 50 laps. Everybody's stuff that's used up. Patience is going out the window. What's it going to take to win this? You're going to have to be aggressive, or you just hope for good track conditions?
Well, what was the invert?
I'm not sure yet.
I heard the invert was 4, so if that's the case, that means I only get past 1 car and keep the rest of them behind me. So we get in the lead, 23 might get a couple car leaks wide, but we're going to do what we got to do to try to win this thing and bring home the big win.
Well, that's going to be fun to watch. Devin McLeod having a good night. We're going to head over here real quick and talk to the man that won the first stage. 5 laps of that race, and I see you slow on the back straightaway. He faded back outside the top 10 for much of that run. He rebounded for a good sixth place run. What happened there in stage 2?
Driver made a really bad adjustment. I went too far for something I shouldn't have gone too far. And, I realized it now, and I put it back. And I'll put it in the notebook, and it'll be a better adjustment for next time.
Well, when that caution came back out, you got up on the wheel, so you made up for that adjustment. You're able to get back up into the top 10, salvage a good finish. You got 7 points going in as far as the overall. I know you want to get up there and win the 3,000 on this stage, but what would the overall mean to you to win this thing?
Oh, I mean, it'd be good to win the overall. I mean, I'm not really worried about it right now. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Be worried too much about it. Usually I'm just slipping away from it. So, focusing on my adjustments here. Not make the really bad adjustment I just made that last run. Because it got really, really good there at the end. So, just make another adjustment and see what we got for this next one.
50 laps this time. Does it change your mindset having less laps up there?
I mean, just kind of take it as it goes. See what the opportunities are in front of you without using your car up too much. There's no sense in not providing panels and everything like that. Obviously, keep it clean, be there at the end.
Well, this guy knows how to get there. Anthony Cataldi, he'll be one to watch in the last 50-lap stage. Car looks pretty clean as long as they make the right adjustments this time. He'll be up in the mix, still alive for the overall championship. We'll see how that's all going to play out. A couple more minutes to make adjustments for these cars. We're going to get ready to head back up. Get ready to call the last 50 laps of the Fall Brawl 200 in Citrus County Speedway.
You hear there Cataldi claiming he made the wrong adjustment, and he's got the mindset of going to let things fall where they play out.
Yourself clean thus far, finished 4th here in this stage, and looks like the Universe going to put you at P1 and start the final segment.
Yeah, we got a good car. I think it's too much of an adjustment. Don't want to adjust our way out of the game a little bit, but we definitely should have a pretty good car for the end. And best starting position, that's for sure. I mean, we kept us clean this whole time. We should be pretty good.
All right, so started back in 11th to begin this thing. Now you find yourself up to the front.
The biggest thing is always keeping the nose clean. You got to know it's not going to turn right. So, but now, we just slowly started getting our way up front. I mean,
Also talking to Dylan Bigley, I believe.
Last segment. So, we got to get it. Fall off too much. So, focus gives us that little bit. And we got there.
All right, Dylan Bigley's going to be leading this field to green when we go back for this final set. 3, 2, 1, fire in the hole.
All right, so engines fire for the final segment. Some drivers just happy with what's gone on already today. Some drivers not so happy. Everybody has the mindset of just going to let the points fall where they may. So getting ready to start here, segment 3, 50 laps. Dylan Bigley, Devin McLeod, the 1 of Webster, the 114 of LJ Grimm, the high point cars as we restart. The guys to watch for the overall championship, Cataldi, McLeod, the 114 is up there. Grimm is definitely in the mix, and the 1 of Webster. Those are the 4 as we restart. Those are the high point drivers. Now some drivers on the fringe there, like Sozio, still with an outside shot of things, get haywire. A couple other cars to watch in this one from the back of the field. Adam Briggs did not finish segment 2. Only ran about 10, 15 laps of that segment. So he's got maybe 50, 60 some odd lap fresher tires than everybody. So keep in mind that could come into play. Contact. Here we go at the front of the field. Bigley goes around and big hit. Cataldi nailed him. Cataldi hits Bigley hard. Contact between Webster, who got down on the apex of the corner and shoots up the track into Bigley. And then Bigley gets, just hit hard by Cataldi. Bigley's car up into the air. And Cataldi, who came in as one of the high point drivers with just 7 points going into this stage, is out of it early on. That car hit a ton with the front end. A couple other cars stacked up. Matt Green trying to get out of here. Perhaps the most dominant car here, at least it was in the first segment, is out. Bigley's driving away, but that car is a little, as Austin and I like to say, cattywampus. And you can see that thing center punched. Right rear tire down, hit, thank goodness, passenger side and not driver's side. So Dylan Bigley, the pole sitter of this race, with heavy damage. Yeah, and I remember this one happening. Webster down on the inside of the racetrack, just, it looks like it bounced up off the flat, the very, very bottom of the racetrack. It's not really an apron here, but the very bottom of the racetrack is a little flat. And it looks like he hit that and just, it upset the handle of the car. Close quarters racing on a restart up into Bigley. I definitely don't think there was anything intentional there. There would be no reason for there to be anything intentional there. Webster doesn't drive like that, first of all. Those guys had no history today. Just a racing deal. It happens. I mean, you're racing hard every single lap. Sometimes even the best drivers have a bad lap. Waiting on Cataldi here to climb out. He's moving around inside the race car. We're getting a good look now if you're watching along. If you're listening, a lot of damage on these cars. Heavy damage on the Jesse Henley number 3. I mean, not damage that would take you out, but I mean, those cars are wrinkled up. A heartbreaker for Cataldi, man. It just seems like Anthony Cataldi has really, really fast race cars, but I swear, 9 times out of 10, Cataldi has some kind of bad luck. And I appreciate what Anthony Cataldi does. Races a couple of different classes. You know, he's got late models, he's got sportsmen. Tries to support the various tracks around. And that sportsman car, beautiful looking ride, pretty well used up here. Hopefully, I was talking to Anthony, and hopefully we'll see him in a pro late model for a race or two during the World Series. I know he had inquired about some of the race links, so maybe we'll see him out there for the 100 lapper at the end of this year's World Series. Be a great addition to the field, in my opinion. Maybe we'll see that car back together for the race at the Freedom Factory. I'm not certain on that, but... All right, we are ready to go back green. Big moment there. One of the championship or the Fall Brawl championship contenders out of it with Cataldi. You've got the 23 McLeod leading us back to green with LJ Grimm on the outside. So I just want to set it up early as this 50 laps will go by quick, and I don't have a counter, and the end's going to sneak up on me again. Basically, the way the points have situated themselves, if McLeod wins, basically McLeod has to win. Somebody just smoked the wall. A lot of smoke going into turn number 1. Everybody keeps it straight. McLeod basically needs to win the race here to win the overall. And depending on where the 114 of Grimm finishes, there is potential for a tie. So and I'm just going to go ahead and put this out here because that's a lot of the controversy leads to the way things were communicated here. And Austin and I will take blame on this confusion. We were under the impression, after speaking with scoring, because we went into the third segment knowing that things were close enough to have the possibility of a tie. In events like this, it's always a possibility. And we said, hey, tiebreaker is best finish in this race. Scorers said yes. And we'll get into this more because it is going to be important. And of course, if you know about this race, you know about it. If you're listening along, I'm just going to tell you right now, the tiebreaker will come into play. So, as we continue to battle here, Brandon Morris, who said he was just going to start and park it the rest of the day, well, they got some things figured out after segment 2. He has roared up to the 4th position. It is a 3-car breakaway up front. The 56 Morris is coming through, and Adam Briggs with those fresher tires is starting to make his way up as he goes inside of Tyler Schofield. Schofield, again, we talked about him a little bit, didn't have the best car today, but trying to make the most of it. Top 3 are nose to tail at the front. Tyler Schofield right now getting banged around a little bit. He's going to drop back. Steve Gill, he's been running right there, 7th, 8th spot most of the night. So from about 4th, 5th on back, it is a hornet's nest right now, and there's not a lot of fenders to be used up, so drivers are just using whatever they can of their cars to get around here at this point. Back up front, though, it is Devin McLeod with the lead. And, hey, Tim Sozio is back in the mix. So you got to throw Sozio back in the potential for the overall. Second in race 1, 7th or 8th in race number 2. So an outside shot if things get mixed up. Win the championship. And here comes Adam Briggs. He gets into Morris a little bit there. That kind of jostles up the rest of the field behind him. We stay green. But Adam Briggs, I definitely think, even when this was going on live, I definitely think having, 40, 50, 55, whatever laps, fresher tires in the rest of the field is helping Adam Briggs at this point. Now, when you have to come from the back of the field, fresher tires, you're going to pass those back markers very easily. But the farther you get up through the field, the harder you're going to have to race these guys, the more you're going to use those tires up. But definitely the fresh tires helping him now as he's up to 5th. Race leader still Devin McLeod. A lot of jostling for position a little bit further back, but as far as the overall goes, it's not mattering too much. By the way, failed to mention, as I see Daniel Webster's car on screen, he was penalized to the rear of the field for the contact. Race officials deemed he was, involved in it. He was the reason it got triggered. Nothing intentional, as we talked about, but he was called to the back of the field, so he's having to race his way back up. So he is, as they run, pretty much out of contention for the overall. So at this point, you're focusing, in Adam Briggs out of the contention as well, but having a good battle with Morris. It's still LJ Graham, the 114, Devin McLeod, 23. Those are the guys that we're focused on at this point. We've come this far, inside of, 35 laps to go at this point. It's looking like Devin McLeod. It's looking like LJ Grimm. And now if they get into it, at this point, Austin and I had locked in on, we got to watch the battle between McLeod and Grimm, because that's what's going to matter. If they had gotten into it, something were to happen there, then of course we'd have to do a bunch of math. Everybody's mindset would change. But we're focusing right now in the middle of the field because that's where the action is on the racetrack. But as far as the overall goes, that is still between McLeod and Grimm. And I'm just going to tell you, it gets very, very crazy here at the end of this race and in victory lane. Obviously, keep watching, keep listening. If you don't know the story, you'll know it even better here after this. So just logging some laps here, getting down to the end of this thing. Field has thinned out a little bit. I think there was only about 17, 18 cars still left running at this point. 4 or 5 of those, I hate to say it, but really no shot to be of much contention in this race. Still, though, on the flip side of that, you got 7, 8 guys that could potentially win this, and a couple guys working their way back into contention. Yellow flag, caution. We got a spinner on the back straightaway, and it is Dylan Bigley who was actually able to make it back out after that big crash. Luckily, kind of center punched between the wheels. Tire went down, so it did hit the wheels. It may have knocked this car out of alignment a little bit, but somehow Bigley able to continue. He is going to pit now, but that car was hit so hard, it shocked me that it was even able to make it back out. So coming back to a restart, Devin McLeod, 23-year leader, 16 Tim Sozio, just like race 1 in second, then a lot of red behind him with 114 LJ Grimm, and the other 14 Adam Briggs back into the mix. Brandon Morris 5th on the restart with Steve Gill. Rex Struble 7th, 07 Tyler Schofield, Daniel Webster back in the mix, Matt Green rounding out the top 10. A lot of sparks towards the back of the field. No issues there, just parts and pieces. Fenders most likely dragging on the ground as parts and pieces now fly off the Bigley machine. Up towards the outside wall in turn 3. Not sure if that's going to draw a caution or not. Might be out of the groove. We'll see. I can't remember. Still green at the moment. Back up front. We're going to focus in here. Halfway home. 25 laps down. 25 to go. Good work by the flagman there. Flagman definitely still important, especially on race reviews, folks. Oh, Steve Gill had a moment there on the back straightaway. Webster flies to his inside. Up front, still Devin McLeod leading Tim Sozio in the 16. So 24 laps to go, and no, I'm not going to be able to count every single lap here because something's going to happen and I'm going to lose focus on that. 23 to go for the 23 this time. Sitting back in third, it is Adam Briggs. Adam Briggs in the 14, back up into third. So at this point, Briggs is still determined to go win this race. He knows, hey, I've got fresher tires. If I can get up there, I'm going to go win this $3,000. His mindset, it goes through a couple of emotions in this race, for sure. And it's not done processing the bigger picture here. And if you ever want to know if Adam Briggs is a big teammate or not, then stay tuned. Do you want to be Adam Briggs' teammate? Do you not? Adam Briggs, you know, he's an aggressive driver. He's used his bumper. He's had people mad at him before. But is he a team player? He is all over the back of Tim Sozio. This is for second. Briggs with a run. What a move. Up the hill, down the hill, crossover down the back. Briggs to the inside. Briggs with those fresh tires. Knows he's not going to win the overall, but hey, $3,000 in your pocket. It's got to feel good, right? That's extra motivation to come up and, man, if they had a hard charger award for this thing, he'd be my vote. So that's going to put Briggs second, Sozio third. Here comes LJ Grimm now in the 114. Devin McLeod leading as they run right now at this very moment with Grimm battling for third. Devin McLeod would be your leader right now by 1 point. Sozio falls back to fourth. Brandon Morris under attack for fifth now from the 07 of Tyler Schofield. Devin McLeod still leading. Inside of 20 laps to go. Laps click down in a hurry here at the Citrus County Speedway. Brandon Morris has a mirror full of that 07. Morris trying to hold off Schofield. Top four pretty much scooted away. It's going to be a battle between McLeod, Briggs, Grimm, and Sozio. Schofield, though, wants a top five. Schofield to the inside of Morris. Schofield with some wrinkled fenders on that car. But no worse for wear than anybody else out there at this point. Brandon Morris trying to salvage something on his night. It's been a frustrating one so far. Morris trying to hold on to a top five run. You know, if you have two bad segments and you can finish off the night with a top five, it stings a lot less when you leave. And I think that was the motivation for Brandon Morris here in this one. McLeod's still your leader up front. He's got a sizable lead. So just keep in mind, at this point in the night, we were under the impression, and when I say we, scoring, Austin and myself up there in the announcer's booth, under the impression that Devin McLeod has the tiebreaker if he wins, because, again, as we debriefed and we're thinking about, you know, what's going on in the third segment, we confirmed that best finish in this segment determines any tiebreakers. We get some contact here further back in the field with Morris and Schofield. The hood flying off of Rex Struble. So we're thinking at this moment, Devin McLeod, man, he's just got to win the race. He's going to be golden. And we're getting down to the end of this thing. Struble with the hood flapping, waving to the fans as he comes by with the race car. Still a great battle for fifth. Up front, you're not missing anything if you're watching along. McLeod still leading. Second is Adam Briggs. Briggs in second, not really able to close in on Devin McLeod. And I think it's right about this point where a flip switches in Adam Briggs' mind. And right now, we're still following that battle for fifth. That's the best action on the racetrack. Briggs was trying to chase down McLeod. Said, hey, if I got the car to go win this race, I need to go win this race. But there comes a point, and it's right around, 10 laps to go or so, where Briggs realizes, hey, I'm not going to be able to win this thing. My team car is in contention for the overall. And I don't want to say he manipulates this, because that's not fair. Sometimes it's good to have a teammate. And I hate this, when there's race manipulation stuff. I mean, obviously, if you wreck somebody, if you take somebody out intentionally, that's a whole different story. But I think if you're smart and you say, hey, it's better for my team if I back out, and let so-and-so by. And some of you may challenge that statement and say, no, we're racing, you should always go 100%. And some people feel that way and some people don't. I think it depends on what side of the shoe you're on here. But yeah, Briggs is going to back out. And right there, we just saw the pass. Tom just caught it there. LJ Grimm just went into second place. We're coming to 2 laps to go. So it was with 3 to go. Adam Briggs just backed off and gave LJ Grimm the spot. Right now, as they run, they are tied. McLeod is tied with Grimm in points. Coming to the white flag, and still everybody thinking McLeod's going to win the overall, even though they're tied, because he's going to win this final segment. He's way out in front, no challenge, barring something catastrophic, which, spoiler alert, it doesn't happen. Devin McLeod coming through 3 and 4. Devin McLeod is going to win the race, and at this point is assumed the overall champion. He is tied with LJ Grimm. Third was Adam Briggs, by the way. And here come the rest of them. At this point, Austin is heading down trackside. I go over to scoring, and I ask LJ Grimm, or I'm sorry, we'll listen in. There you go. We just made the call. I had just confirmed with scoring, hey, the 23 is the overall winner, and they said yes. So keep that in mind. We'll listen in.
Fall Brawl Sportsman 200 champion.
There are a lot of lessons to be learned. One of the best things about being in the racing business, I'm always learning. You want to think you know it all, you never know it all. So even in situations like this, even in years of experience, you will always learn. And I'll tell you, I'll follow up on that in a minute. So we'll listen in.
He's going to win that final segment and win it on a tiebreaker over LJ Grimm.
LJ Grimm comes over and they debrief. Now, watching the video here, Tyler pulls up, talks to Austin. And I think he says, hey, something's not right here. Austin's walking away now. And here at this point, Ronnie Basello, who was Ronnie helped put this race on. He's looking through the rules. Austin's looking through the rules. And there's some chatter about, hey, the tiebreaker is something different. So they're combing the rule book here to figure out who's the overall winner, because they are tied in points, folks. We assumed it was McLeod. And the key word here is we assumed. Now, we did verify with officials in the tower, but we still assumed at this point.
Tiebreaker is best finish in the final round.
And I state,
Be the case here. So
there I stated, we assumed tiebreaker was best finish in the final round. Austin has just had an aha moment. He walks over. He confirms with some officials, and we'll listen in.
Get out of the car he's ever had. He still won the stage. Can't take that away from him, that's for sure. But there was a tie. 8 points between Devin McLeod and the 114 LJ Grimm. They'll sort out the rules, and Austin will let us know what he found out.
Checking some
Remember,
things.
Adam Briggs pulled over in the last couple laps and let the 114 by. And that did tie the drivers, so see what the official
Everybody
rules say as far as the
checking those
tiebreaker.
rules.
Initially, we thought it was best finish in this round, but see what the call's going to be.
Still a lot of confusion down here.
Devin McLeod is officially the stage 3 winner. We're waiting.
Now Austin goes back over to talk to Ronnie.
23 and 114 tie with 8 points.
All right, so we have the official decision, and the overall winner is going to be LJ Grimm.
It's a brawl. Of course, it would come down to a decision.
Very fitting.
The rules were that in the event of a tiebreaker, qualifying would determine the tiebreaker. And since LJ Grimm qualified ahead of Devin McLeod, LJ Grimm
winner.
Well, how about that?
So there's the ruling. Qualifying was the tiebreaker.
Qualifying even more good than we thought.
And somebody in the crowd goes, I've never heard of that. I'll be honest with you, I haven't either. And here's where I go back to. You're always learning. It doesn't matter if you're going to help out, if you're the fans are jeering, Devin's jeering, LJ's down there, hugs all around. I mean, good sportsmanship between the two. But again, back to always learning. I've been announcing for a number of years now, and it comes easy to me. But there are always little things. There are always little challenges, little nuances. And the thing that I took away from working this event, and I got, this was kind of a last-minute thing. Austin asked me, and I'm not making an excuse, I'm just setting the stage. Austin asked, late in the week if I'd be able to come over and help out. And I was planning to go to the race anyway. And I was like, oh, absolutely. I'd love to call this race with you. So I honestly didn't comb through every ounce of the rule books. I knew it was 3 segments. I knew there was a lot of drivers coming. I knew it was going to be an exciting race. I know about the Vermont Milk Bowl, where the final, the best finish in the final stage is the tiebreak. So I went by that, and that was incorrect. And what I learned is whether you're going to help out or whether you're the track official. I'm sorry I talked over LJ's interview. LJ was happy to win. Here's just, if you're an announcer and you go to work anything, make sure you read the rules and know, because it just helps with situations like this. And I felt kind of stupid after this. I didn't let it get to me. Austin didn't know. The scores in the tower didn't know. I mean, we had to sit on the track, and people had to comb through their phones to figure it out. Then I even said this when I did the original podcast on this a couple months ago. While I'm not knocking the event, it was a great event. It's just funny that it came down to a decision. It's almost fitting that a race labeled a brawl, would come down to a decision by the judges, if you will. But I said it a couple months ago, and I'll stand by it now. I feel like we'll listen to Devin here.
You were the leader at the end of the race, so still a pretty good payday for you.
Yeah, no, man, it is what it is. I guess hopefully there's a written rule that says that. If not, I don't know what the tiebreaker would be, so I'm not going to argue over it. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say anything if it's not like a day later. I'll find out what the rule is. Happy for LJ. And I tell you what, though, 2 Robert Todd Racing, home field chassis, just finished first and second in the fall brawl. So I tell you what, that man knows how to build a damn race car. So I wish it would obviously been the other way, but if I couldn't win it, I'm glad LJ did. He's one of my best buddies, and we'll come back stronger next time.
Anybody you want to thank tonight?
Yeah, Todd and Tony Brown, man. They tell me to try this thing like it's mine. They'd probably rather me wad other people up more than I do when they do me wrong. But at the end of the day, we work together good, and I think it shows. We finished 3 top 5s there, and a couple pictures to show for it. So thankful for all my family, friends that came out. My buddy Mad Dog, he got his. I think this is his first front stretch picture with us. So what else can I say?
All right, well, congratulations on a great run tonight, Devin McLeod. $3,000 richer at the end of it.
A little bit of B-roll here, but I'll go back to what I was saying there. I just feel like an event like this, now, whoever's in charge of it can do whatever the heck they want, but in my opinion, tiebreaker in the final segment should be best finish in that segment, so that the people there can follow along easier, because nobody, maybe some, that's not fair to say, but not many people even remembered qualifying that day. I didn't know that LJ had out-qualified Devin. It's just so much easier to follow what's going on the track. So if it were up to me, tiebreaker would be final segment. Now, I just did the little 500 over at New Smyrna, and they did qualifying as the tiebreaker. And thankfully, I did comb through the rules, and I knew that. Learned from this experience. But yeah, in my opinion, any tiebreaker should be settled on the racetrack versus what happened, a day ago, a few hours ago in qualifying. But that's not how it happened here. and that is how LJ Grimm won the Fall Brawl. So congratulations to him. Congratulations to Anthony Cataldi winning Stage 1. Congratulations to LJ Grimm for winning Stage 2 and the overall Stage 3 to Devin McLeod. Very good race. A wild incident there with Anthony Cataldi and Dylan Bigley. And some great racing, some great sportsman battles. Hell of an effort by Daniel Webster. A lot of positive things to take away from this event. And, despite the controversy at the finish, it wouldn't be Saturday night at your short track without some controversy, right? So it was fitting. It's almost like a judge's decision. We had to comb through the fine print in the rule book to figure out who actually won, despite what the dumb announcers were saying. And that's why I prefaced at Little 500, any tiebreakers and stuff. Hey, whatever I'm saying is unofficial, but still a great event here. A lot of fun. Glad to get down to Citrus County Speedway, call that race with Austin. And yes, please support Speedway Video. We wouldn't be able to do these race rewinds without Speedway Video. So that's going to wrap up the video portion of this podcast. So again, just to kind of recap, a great event, a lot of fun. Very appreciative of the Citrus County Speedway for having me out there to call that race, to fill in for Tony, who's doing a lot better now. I know he's looking forward to 2023 with Austin. We look forward to, as a podcast, to getting out to that track a few times for sure. I'll always be glad to fill in there if needed. Glad to have Speedway Video out there to film that race. And again, just one of the big reasons to do the race rewind on this race is we didn't have any commentary on the video itself. So now you've got a little insider commentary, a different form of commentary, but you have some commentary for the race, and maybe you'll learn from my mistakes, from Austin's mistakes, of not actually going through the rules beforehand. And as an announcer, that's dropping the ball. So we should have known beforehand. We should have known better. We assumed we knew, which is not the way to do it. And I think we both learned from that situation. And that goes to everybody else that had to look through the rules. And, the racers, man, got to give it to them. They at least knew before we did. So at least they knew what they were doing. Adam Briggs, hell of a teammate, man, backing out of a second place finish so his teammate could go win the overall. Hopefully they split that extra $1,000 there for the overall. Fun event. Definitely confusing at the end. I love the concept. I love these, multiple segment races where you get points. I feel like this is how NASCAR should do their all-star race at North Wilkesboro. Obviously, they'll break down the tie-breaking procedures ahead of time. We don't have to go to the rule book in Victory Lane. That's how I would do the all-star race, in my opinion. 3-4 segments, low points, wins, Milk Bowl style, and tiebreaker on the racetrack. That would be my suggestion. And that's about all I have to say about this one. It was a long one. I appreciate you listening. If you listen to this whole thing, I appreciate you watching. If you watched it over on Speedway Video, and we thank American Auto and DJ Wilcoxon for sponsoring these bonus pods. Again, from everybody here, myself and Margot and the entire family here, hope you guys had a great Christmas. Hope you have a happy New Year. We'll be back next week with a full podcast. This one's full length. But we'll be back with our normal show, previewing the Red Eye, previewing the SRL Sportsman race, and just, talking to you guys for the first time this year. So, Merry Christmas to everybody, and you guys have a Happy New Year. Hope you enjoyed this race rewind of the Fall Brawl Sportsman 200 from Citrus County Speedway in 2022. Congratulations to LJ Grimm, the official overall winner of this thing, and we will talk to you all next year. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.